Here we go for the big day for the Central Bank of Nigeria's monetary policy decision day. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is your Business Morning with me, Bosin Omofaye. Let's get started. Central Bank's MPC members today decide interest rate directions for Nigeria over the next 2 months as their two-day meeting is wrapped up. And the Central Bank Governor Emefiele is speaking from 2 o'clock local time. Channels Television live coverage of the MPC briefing and studio analysis will be from 1:30 to 3 o'clock today. Join our panelists live here in the studios. Wale Olusi, who will be is the head of research at United Capital, a listed investment bank on Nigerian Stock Exchange. Bola will also be on the panel. He's the head of investment banking at Codros Capital, another investment bank. And of course, Uchenna Menes, who will giving us a lot of global perspectives. He's the chief market analyst at Adeeko Global Markets. Three of them joining us here this afternoon from 1:30. Meantime, the House of Reps have asked the central bank to suspend the latest directive on higher charges for bank deposits and withdrawals. The representative says the financial regulator should consult with other stakeholders before imposing higher charges for deposits and withdrawals, as announced 2 days ago. Meantime, the Institute of Directors of Nigeria says they welcomed President Buhari's new Economic Advisory Council, chaired by Professor Doyin Salami. The 8-man team, which were unveiled on Wednesday, but will be sworn in about a week from now, according to the IOD, saying that the timing of Doyin Salami's team, quote-unquote, auspicious as Nigeria's search for economic stability. The Institute of Directors says if this process of this new Economic Council is well managed and the Council is allowed to independently execute its mandate, this development will engender sustainable economic development for the country. And this is the latest as far as the 614 billion naira refund bailout to the state government is concerned. Now, state government says they want the federal government to reconcile the federal government's debts that are owed to states first, then net off the central bank bailout monies instead of deductions from the monthly federal allocation money, which starting this month. 2 days ago, the chairman of the Governors Forum, Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, says the state governors have agreed to do reconciliation first with the federal government, then they will decide how to refund the 614 billion naira. Then yesterday, as the FAC money was being shared, the state governors says the federal government is owing them as well. So the federal government should reconcile how much is owing the states, then net off what they are owing the federal government, 614. We haven't heard the last of this 614 billion naira bailout refund. Meantime, the state governors under the National Economic Council, which met yesterday, says $1.3 billion is what Nigeria's lost to oil theft in the first half of this year, between January and June, and so calling for major restructuring. They said the oil and gas industry needs major restructuring. Speaking on behalf of his colleagues, the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, says there should be special courts set up to try offenders in the oil and gas industry. He also said there should be special legal task force to coordinate the prosecution of arrested offenders, as well as judges specially trained to handle cases of oil theft. So Nigeria is looking to, get the economy back on track and improve the current state. So we're currently in talks with the World Bank, looking for $2.5 billion in loan to tackle key issues the country face in the power sector and make the economy more competitive. Nigeria is not heading to the global debt market of Eurobonds in 2019, but according to previously to Finance Minister and the head of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, Nigeria will be seeking multilateral borrowings, which are longer in duration and at more concessionary notes. And of course, there will be, as always, a moratorium to be paid. So Nigeria is not going to the global debt market of Eurobond, but to be seeking multilateral loans. This is having that conversation right now with the World Bank, $2.5 billion to plug a lot of spendings that the government sorely needs. Let's check in with the markets. Just quickly, that was taken through 0.13% on the equity side on Thursday. That's the day before when the Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee started their two-day meeting. Today, as you already know, is the announcement of the rate decision, a very tight one for the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank. But let's check in on our market street with Temple Ashaju, who's our business correspondent at the Nigerian Stock Exchange studios, downtown Lagos. Temple, good morning.
Good morning, Bosun.
Great. If you can recap the market's position for us, this week is certainly different from last week when we had three back-to-back sessions, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week, and the market made a big jump. This week has been one step forward, two steps backward since we started.
Correct, Bosun. That's because there's a whole lot of activities that investors are watching to shape their decision in the market. One of that is what you hinted earlier, the fact that the Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Central Bank kicked off yesterday. So they will be looking forward to get a decision of the MPC. Detail for what happened in the debt market yesterday, if you look at the bond side of things, it was the same thing. Bonds and the treasury bill side of things, both markets were really tepid yesterday. But let's get deeper into the conversation. So yesterday we saw a decline of some 0.13%. That's some 17.26 billion naira taking off the equity capitalization of the exchange. But we know that the buy interest of a lot of investors, persist in the market, because if you look at the gainers and the losers, the market breadth, we had 23 gainers as opposed to 16 losers in the market, led by Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC, which is up some 10%. That's an insurance company. If you look at the laggards, it was led by UPL, University Press, which was down by more than 8% yesterday. Activity level yesterday was basically not too good. It was down by 35%. We saw profit taken across the counters of the banking sector yesterday. Of course, there was a little bit of sell down as well, because whenever you see the return of foreign portfolio investors, the banking stocks are basically the first port of call before they then concentrate on the consumer goods, and then they drill down further. So yesterday we saw a bit of profit taken across GT Bank, which for some time has been hanging around 26 naira per share. And of course, it touched 30 naira the day before. So yesterday, when investors woke up to the market, they had to take some profits, leaving it around 29 to 30 naira. Again, that's what GT Bank is hovering at now. Then you have Fidelity Bank, FCMB, Unity Bank saw a bit of sell down yesterday because interest is now being renewed on some tier 1 banks. So that's the switch that we're seeing in that sector, which was also the reason why we saw a decline of 1.50% in the sectoral performance of the banking stocks yesterday. But moving on to consumer goods, that was positive yesterday. We saw some interest in PZs, in USEN, in Dangote Sugar, Dangote Flour, and the rest. Industrial goods segment of the market saw a little bit of interest as well in WAPCO, which is up some 33 basis points yesterday. If we look at the insurance side of things, given the exercise going on in that sector, we've been seeing some entry and exit, re-entry and exit on that platform. So you saw Linkage Assurance up yesterday, Continental Reinsurance was also up, as well as CHI, which is consolidated with Hallmark Insurance, which has also hinted of some rights issue. Just like we know that NEM Insurance is also coming up with its on the way. Oil and gas taking us to energy stocks. We saw movement on Etana PLC yesterday, moved beyond 2 naira 80 kobo now to 3 naira. Some investors may be waiting for some profits taken today. If you look at O&O as well, O&O was also up by some 1.05% yesterday, but this is a stock that has now been downgraded to the medium cap stock now. Moving on to the NSE OTC, which is the unlisted securities market, that was up yesterday by some 0.15%. We got 14,500 units of shares traded yesterday, or stocks traded yesterday, and CSCS and WAMCO were the key movers on that side of the market. For the debt side of the market, we saw a tepid trading, as I hinted earlier, on bonds. Of course, average yield moderated between 1 and 3 basis points yesterday in the market. investors had more interest around the 23rd of February 2028 security, where we saw yields dropping from 14.29% to 14.19%. And of course, given the price high of 98 naira 76 kobo, we saw that a particular bond, yesterday ending at 98 naira 97 kobo. But for the treasury bill side of things, with the OMO auction that took place yesterday, some 351 billion naira, and the fact that investors are waiting and watching to see what the CBN MPC will do today, trading was a little bit mixed yesterday. Average yields advanced by just 4 basis points. Yields was the short end of the curve also increased, but we saw more interest at the long end of the curve. Bosun.
Yes, Tempo, the market, thank you so much. We'll talk more about the numbers and what today MPC could mean for the trading day on the equity side a bit later with you. But I'm sure one of the big stories around the stock market where you are is the Nigerian Stock Exchange SA competition. It's been there for a number of years. Students of higher institutions compete for this very important financial literacy program. There's some rewards for them to participate and get to understand how the market was and bringing their own ideas and their understanding together. I guess that's what you chatting to Bola Adeeko of the Nigerian Stock Exchange with.
Correct, Bosun. That's a competition in its 19th year, so we'll wait to see what the 20th year will look like. But basically, we've got Mr. Bola Adeeko here. He's the head of shared services with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Thanks a great deal for joining us on the show this morning, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So, great. The competition is in its 19th year, and this time you're focusing on how can the capital market create a better future for all. I mean, what informed this topic for students at this time?
Thanks for having me on the show this morning, Temple. I think what informed the decision for this topic is, I think, coming from a place where we recognize that the global market continues to be more complex, and that certainly includes Nigeria as well. And so, as it becomes more global and complex, it's important that investors of all ages understand how to participate in the market. We've decided over the years to target the young people. And so one of the taglines that we've always used over the years is building a financially savvy young generation to make sure that at a very early age they understand how to go about obviously earning money, investing, and saving. And so the topic for this year, which is about how does the capital market help to build a better future for all of us, we believe is very apt in that direction.
So what strata of youths are you targeting, the young folks that you're targeting?
So the senior secondary school students are the ones that we are targeting, so SSS 1 all the way to 3. And we think, and that's not the only area that we target. As you presumably are aware of, we have a fairly robust financial literacy program at the Exchange that has, even as down to primary school students that come to visit the Exchange on tours. But for this particular essay competition, it's just the senior secondary school students.
You think the students have ample knowledge enough to write this sort of essay?
The idea is that we want to trigger creative thinking on their part. So each year we try to come up with topics that would challenge their mind. Obviously, we know that they have to do some research and probably consult with their teachers and parents and friends as well. But the idea is that whatever topic we pick has to be something that's also relevant to what's going on in the market, and probably I would go as far as to say in their life in general. And so there are different layers, of course, that we go through in terms of making sure that the person that's submitting the essay is actually the one that's submitting it to the original work. Yeah.
So how does this particular initiative of the Stock Exchange today speak to the need to possibly modify the curriculum for secondary school, especially between SS1 and SS3 at this point?
We believe that, so what we're doing is just one complement to what we all have to agree has to be a larger effort in terms of improving the financial literacy levels across the board. I think long term, starting from maybe even kindergarten all the way through primary school. There needs to be inclusion in the topics that students are taught, in the subjects that students are taught, that address the whole basic idea of, what do you do with money? In a very formal and structured way, of course, because I think the reality of it is that there are many people that don't understand even the simplest concept of how, when you earn money, you shouldn't just spend everything all at once. That you should have some percentage of it that you save for the future, and then also invest as well so you can grow your money over the long haul. So I believe is that I think all through the educational system, there needs to be an infusion of financial literacy. And I know there's a lot of work that's been done. One example is in the National Financial Inclusion Steering Committee that CBN hosts, which the exchange is also part of. It started back in 2012 to try and move the needle in terms of the number of people that are financially excluded to a lower number. I think the target right now is to get to about 90% of adults financially included in the system today.
I know the stock exchange is also really supporting the initiatives from SEC and, of course, the CIS when it comes to integrating capital market studies at the tertiary level. But let's move on to the fact that the entry is actually opened on 26th of August,
yes.
Closes on the 18th of October. What are the prizes up for grabs, and, of course, when are we going to see the official ceremony?
So let me take the last part. The official ceremony is going to be sometime early December.
Okay.
As you indicated, the entry ends on October 18th. Each year we try to make it a bit more exciting than prior years. So we've increased the prize amount for this year. So the first prize winner will get 500,000 naira that will go towards this scholarship.
That's 500,000 naira.
500,000, exactly. That's even more impactful. Thank you. 500,000 naira that they will get towards the scholarship, and then another 500,000 naira that will go towards investing in some sort of instruments in the market for them. Obviously,
so by implication, that's $1 million naira.
Absolutely. They get a laptop, and again, number one winner also gets to headline the closing gong event at the NSE on the day of the award. It's not just about the student. The school also gets something. So the school will get, I believe it's 3 computers and a printer. And for the second and the third winner as well, they get some lower version of those categories that I just described. But it's going to be very exciting. I think just to share some stats with you in terms of the trajectory that we've seen over the years, we started tracking the numbers closely back in 2012. And at that point, I think we only had a little over 1,000 entries. Fast forward to 2018, which was the last edition, we had over 20,000 entries. And a lot of it is also because we've expanded the footprint more to make sure that we cover as best as possible all of the states in Nigeria using electronic platform as well. So we're very excited.
So what are the eligibility criteria at this point?
So essentially, if you're a secondary school student, SS1 to SSS3, any of the secondary school students in Nigeria, you are eligible. So you go in, you send in your entries. All the information that it needs on our website in terms of the guidelines for how many words. I think it's about 1,000 words maximum. Obviously, has to be written in English. They can find all that information on our website. The 3 layers, so just real quickly, that we go through in terms of picking the final winners. First layer is once they've submitted their entries, working with the capital market professionals, the CIS Institute specifically. They assess all those entries, and then I think anyone above, I believe anyone above 70%, you get to move to the next level. And that next level requires the candidates to actually go into any one of the Nigerian Stock Exchange offices in the country to make sure that we can identify who is actually behind these entries that are coming in. So once they get to do that, and then we shortlist that to another 10 people that we bring in for the final round in Lagos to select the top 3.
All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for this insight you've created. That's part of the awareness creation on this particular initiative. We understand it has actually impacted over 67,000 lives, more than 12,000 schools over the years. But thanks a great deal for your time, so I appreciate this insight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wilson, up to you.
Yeah, a very interesting conversation, Tempo. By the time I got to start reporting the market, I guess I was almost past the age to qualify for that essay competition. Something I missed, but I think I'm going to get the boys to get their acts together. I got some boys, you got some girls, Temple. So let's get them ready to be part of the essay competition. Maybe by the 25th, edition, they should be part of it. Thank you, Temple Ashaju. Everyone, that's the Nigerian Stock Exchange 2019 essay competition. Have you experienced the new Jumia Mall campaign? If you haven't, this is where quality and affordability and what you call the integrity of products and services come into play. E-commerce is a very big world, and Jumia Nigeria is a game changer. Let's talk about that when we come back.